Okay, you are recording on my cloud now. I got kind of excited, came into the office today, and our man KB was here, and I thought, well, he's here for the meeting, but he's actually out grunting away trying to renew his license. Look, I'll show him to you real quick. Where is it? Hey, KB, what? There he is. Look, I go, hey, you gonna come to the meeting? And he's all, no, I think I better study. So, what do you got? Like 3 days to get it done? Wednesday or Thursday? Yeah, yeah. He's sneaking right up on it. So, um, I don't know if you read the invite, but this is what we're going to do today because I think it's pertinent. We're going to talk about, I think I titled the meeting, What the Hell is Going On? Okay. Uh, we're going to talk about what's going on economically. We're going to talk about how that's affecting us. We're going to talk about what it means for sellers. We're going to talk about what it means for buyers. We're going to talk about what it means for us. Okay. And then what I'm really, really hoping is that you guys are going to jump in and collaborate and kind of take this discussion to the next level because we're definitely in kind of uncharted waters right now. One more thing I need to clarify. All right. This is not in any way, shape, or form a political discussion. And I swear to God, the minute that it turns into one, I will click the end button and we'll all be out of here. All right. I don't even know what any of your guys' political positions are, and I don't care because it doesn't really matter, right? So this is an economic discussion, and it's going to need to be based on fact, all right? So um, the issue is that somehow, some way lately, when people want to have an economic discussion, it kind of shifts into something different. And that's not what we're about. All right, that's not what we're about. Like I said, I have no idea what any of your guys' political challenge accepted. See, that's just kind of how it goes now. It's just I don't know what your political positions are, and I really don't care. It wouldn't make a damn bit of difference if you were completely the opposite of whatever I am. I really wouldn't give a crap. So almost yeah. All right. So with that. Let's kind of get this stuff kind of get this thing going. All right. What the hell is going on? Okay. Um, the one thing that I want to address that I think is really, really important is that a couple of times now I've said, look, everybody, get real excited because when the stock market goes to hell, it's really, really good for rates. Okay. And traditionally, that has been true. Okay. Traditionally, that has been true. However, and I guess we should premise this entire discussion with this disclosure as well. This could all change tomorrow. Okay. It could literally all change tomorrow because the rate that things are changing and swinging in different directions from one day to the next, from one day to the next, is kind of sort of a little bit um, new, right? We're not dealing with a lot of typical patterns that we've seen in the past. In business, over a course of time, we chart things in trends and patterns, and we know that when certain things happen, other things, every action has a reaction, right? We all know that, and that we all know that when certain certain things happen, it kind of dictates a certain result, right? And with regard to rate, that hasn't been happening right now. So we've had this weird kind of roller coaster ride. I'll give it a roller coaster ride in the stock market. However, that roller coaster is trending is trending downward. Okay. How many of you have ever ridden a mountain bike? Okay. You know, when you're riding a mountain bike, even if you're doing a downhill mountain bike run, there's always a little bit of up, and sometimes you even have to climb a little bit and get winded before you start going down again. So you're pretty much constantly going down, but there's some up in the middle of it on your way down to the bottom of the hill. That's kind of how I would classify the market for the past pushing 30 days now, right? So why have not rates been positively affected? In fact, quite the opposite. We were starting to get a little bit excited because we had a little bit of relief. And over the last week or so, there's been another there's been another spike, probably because I'm trying to get a family member to refinance something. That's probably why the rate's no good. So, um, why is that happening? Uh, I'll tell you why that's happening. No, at least this is what I've been told, and I believe that it's true. I believe that it's accurate information. Okay, when we started this quote unquote trade war, I'm just going to call it that because that's what everybody else is calling it. Call it whatever you want. We started this trade war. We talked about the fact that we were going to have some kind of global tariffs at a certain rate, around the country, and that caused a problem as far as, I mean, it's going to make somebody mad, right? Somebody's going to get mad, and they did. But then it started to really escalate, right? And we started going back and forth with one country in particular. And we started saying, well, if you're going to come back at us with the tariff, we're going to come back at this bigger tariff, and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth we go. And pretty soon, before you know it, us and China are, threatening each other with triple digit tariffs. Okay. So what the Chinese did in response to that, and what they have been doing, and this is the biggest reason that the rate curve hasn't followed the market curve. The Chinese said, you know what? Stick it in your eyeball, USA. We're going to stop pouring money into your 10-year treasury. We're going to stop investing in your 10-year treasury, and we're going to invest in our new trade partner's 10-year treasury in the European Union. Okay? That shift and that shift alone has left the rate on the 10-year high, even as the market goes down. And that is why we're not seeing the action reaction stock market to interest rate thing that we were all hoping for. Okay. That's why it hasn't come into play yet. So, in order for that to stabilize, in order for that to come through, we've got to figure out a way to make friends with China again. Okay. Or at least stop making them mad. Right. That's the biggest single reason. The other reason is that there is a certain number of economists in the world that feel like this is going to be very, very bad for the economy, and it's going to cause inflationary pressure. And I got called out the other day for somebody that told me I didn't know what the definition of inflation was. So let me rephrase. When I say inflation, what I'm referring to is CPI, Consumer Price Index. All right. I say inflation because it's a lot easier to say than CPI. All right. There's a certain number of economists in the world that feel like what's happening is going to have a negative effect on CPI, i.e., prices are going to increase, things are going to get more expensive, life is going to become more expensive, and that kind of inflation is what the Federal Reserve is going to try and control with rate. Okay? That's the other pressure on rate. The other pressure on rate is, oh geez, we're going to have this increase in CPI. We're going to have inflation numbers that are beyond 3%. We have to slow that down. We have to cool that. We have to leave the rate high. Okay, we have to leave the rate high because at the end of the day, what inflation really is the devaluation of the dollar. All right, and therefore, you have to control the value of the dollar by controlling how much of it gets circulated in the country. And you help control that by having a higher than whatever average, desirable, pick a word, interest rate. Okay. You control spending, you control the circulation of the dollar. All right. That's what's going on with rate. Okay. Best I can tell, my opinion. If I'm wrong, great, I'm wrong. But, it's based on data and it's based on fact. Okay. You don't like it, that's fine. You want to tell me I'm wrong, that's fine. If somebody's got a better explanation for what's happening, I'm here to hear it. I'd love to hear it. But most of the time, I don't hear anybody explaining to me why it's happening other than some kind of political nonsense. Right? At the end of the day, political nonsense is not the reason. It gets down to to economics and business and facts. Great. So, what does that mean? What does that mean as far as where we are in the market and what's happening in the market? Okay. I'm going to talk about Placer County as a whole. Um, Other areas might be a little bit different. Okay, they might be a little bit different, but they're probably not all that different. And I'm going to tell you what I see happening, and you guys see it happening too. Okay, there's more inventory available on market now than there was a year ago. Okay, we have been waiting for that to happen. Okay, we have been waiting for that to happen because more inventory balances or seems to balance what we have been in for the past several years, which is classified as a seller's market. There's more people that want to buy something than there is to buy it. That's a seller's market. It makes for quickly escalating prices. It makes for difficulty on the part of buyers to be able to purchase property. It causes affordability issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If anybody doesn't agree with anything that I'm saying in a really big way, unmute yourself, chime in, and stop me because I've got all these boxes and I can't necessarily see if you're raising your hand. Okay, just say, hey, Damian, and I'll stop. So there's more inventory. However, that inventory, that additional inventory is not being absorbed at the same rate that it's coming onto market, if you follow me, right? Sales are up. They actually are up, but they're not up to the same level as the amount of inventory that comes on market. Not even close, really. Okay, not even close. Days on market is extended. Sales are up a little bit. Median price is going down. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that if your house was worth $500,000 yesterday, that it's worth less than $500,000 today. When you see a shift in the median, what that can also mean is there are more less expensive houses selling than expensive houses selling, right? Median is not average. Median means, by definition, the middle, okay? So let's make it really simple. If the lowest priced house sold for $1 and the highest priced house sold for $101, what's the median home price?
$50.
$50. You got it. You got it. Okay. So when we watch median, we don't talk about what the average home is selling for. What that tells us is if here's our houses and there's this many of the high level selling and there's this many of the low level selling, if the median shifts down, that means the whole table goes like this. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
When the median shifts up, it means the whole table goes like this. Okay? So what that tells us, or what that tells me, is that the percentage of sales that's coming up, those are lower price homes that are being sold than there were a year ago, right? Average sales price is a better indicator of trends in value, okay? So the median's going down, inventory is up, days on market's up, sales up slightly, median going down, okay? Percentage of homes sold over list price, pretty steady, okay? It's still happening, all right? What does all of that mean? Chew on that data for a second and somebody chime in. Let's popcorn here. Let me see if you can tell me what that means. Anybody know? I mean, to be fair, I don't know either. I've got some solid guesses, but I don't know. All right, let's get into my guesses, and they're pretty good ones. Okay. What that means is, in my mind, that the middle class and the upper middle class, the people that buy 700, 800,000, high 600,000, screeching into 900,000, those people are doing this. Whoa, shit. What is going on? I don't like it. I don't even know what it means. I just know I don't like it. Okay. And I know what people are saying. Oh, their 401ks are busted and that's why they're doing it. That's not true. That's not it. Okay. That's not it. All right. Oh, it's political and they don't like it. No, that's not true either. What they don't like, what middle class people and upper middle class people don't like is uncertainty. They don't like it. Right. And also keep in mind, these people, generally speaking, have a pretty comfortable life. Right. All of their kind of foundational needs are met. They're doing all right. Freezer's full. Bills are paid. Everything's fine. Okay. There's no pressure for them to have to do anything if they don't want to do something. None at all. Okay. And so when they get in a situation where they're like, I don't like it, they just stop. They just stop and wait because they can. Okay. The reason the median's going down and the lower priced houses are selling is those people are in a position to need to act. Right. Oh, geez, my new wife is pregnant. I need a house. Okay. Oh, geez, I just graduated from college. I got a fat job. I don't want to rent anymore. I need a house. Okay. Those are generally lower priced homes, and that's why the median's shifting. That's why the median's shifting. Any strong disagreements, agreements, or other inputs on that at all? That's what I think is happening in Placer. That's what I think is going to be happening in all 4 or 5 of the primary counties that we work in. Alan, I know you want to say something, buddy. Yep, you're biting your tongue, aren't you?
You're right, man. You're right. But hey, there's also those rentals houses that people are putting on the market.
Yes.
A lot of rentals are coming on the market. Rent's going up, and a lot of people who are paying rent are trying to get into being a homeowner.
Yep.
And we have a lot of little added little details. And I've said it before. This is the cycle.
Yep.
We've done this before.
Yep.
If the dollar is weak, the interest rate's high. If the
Yep.
dollar gets even weaker, the interest rates go 8%.
Yep.
Bottom line is we're going to be at 7% for the next 6 months.
Yep.
Well, I said that 2 months ago. For the next 4 months, we'll be at between 6.5% and 7%.
That's all right, Alan. I've been on the other side of the coin and saying we're going to be at 6.5 for 2 years. So, somewhere between you and I is probably the truth.
But the bottom line is, why does that matter? That's we're talking about how much were we talking about? Nothing. But what we're talking about, we got a bunch of scared young people who don't know what to do.
Yeah,
That's the bottom line.
I agree with you 100%.
They haven't lived life, and they got the world doing what it's doing right now. And to you and I, we've seen it before. It's kind of like you said, we're all comfortable with coasting, but the younger people, they're scared.
Yep.
So
there's no doubt about it. And I would say that the not just the younger people, not just the younger people, those in upper middle are also scared.
Right.
For different reasons, I think. For different reasons, they're scared. But I think that they're scared. And maybe they're not scared as much as they are now hesitant. Like, well, I'm just going to wait and see what happens.
I call it laying on the ropes. They say, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'll lay on the ropes for a year and see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So what does all of this mean then? Let's get into this. What does all of this mean then for buyers and sellers? Okay. Let's start with buyers. What's this mean for buyers? What do all these dynamics mean for buyers? Somebody help me out. What's it mean for a buyer?
If they don't mind paying a little bit more in interest, they can get some deals out there.
Huge, right? Yes, absolutely. What else? What's the stronger version of Alan's statement?
Good time to buy if you can afford it.
Yep. It's your time.
Right.
It's your time. Now, yeah, Brendan, you got to be able to qualify, right? You got to be able to qualify. And to Alan's point, you got to understand, if you've got this mental block on a number wrapped around rate, you need to get over it. Okay? You need to get over it. And I'm not talking about this whole like date the rate, marry the house BS. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is 7%, 7.5% is good money. Get over yourself, right? I've said it 100 times. I'll say it again. You're never going to get a 30-year mortgage at 2.99 again, not as long as we're alive. It's not going to happen. Okay? It's not going to happen. You've got to look at the historical chart for mortgage interest rates, and you've got to see where 7% falls on that chart. 7 is good money. Get over it, right? You got to be able to qualify, and you got to get over it. I finally, one of my clients that has been waiting and waiting and waiting, I finally got him to understand the other day, you're never going to get a 3% mortgage again. It's just not going to happen. Okay. Now what happened? The dude is blowing up Real Scout. The dude is blowing up my phone. The dude wants a house because he finally got over that mental block of, well, if I can't get a 4% rate, I ain't buying. Well, okay, cool, dude. You ain't buying. Like ever. Ever. Rent forever. That's the way it's going to be. Okay. So you got to get over that. You got to be able to qualify. KB.
Yeah, I think you just answered the question for the middle class and upper middle class as well, because what I've been hearing, not on the street, but like my banker at Wells Fargo lives in Roseville, got in when it was 3.5.
Yep.
And he told me verbatim, he's like, I can't afford to move because there's no way I'm going to be able to get that rate.
Right.
You know, and I think that's why you were saying why the middle and upper middle class, that they're just going to hold pat. They're going to hold, steady because they can't do better than what they're doing right now.
Yep. KB's banker in Roseville is falling. Do you guys hear that? Could you hear KB? Kind KB's banker in Roseville is part of that group of people that we've discussed many times. Upper middle class, got a nice house in Roseville. Okay, probably living in East Roseville. All right, got a 3.5% mortgage. Maybe he's getting close to retirement. He ain't going anywhere because he's not giving up the rate. Right? He's not giving up the rate. Okay. What else does this dynamic that we're in right now, what else does it mean for buyers? Okay. You're talking to your buyers. You're trying to give them new material to think about. You're trying to give them new material to motivate them. What does things like extended days on market mean? What does that mean? Could have some,
translates into lower listing price.
lower listing prices, lower purchase prices, right? Could be some flexibility in price that you haven't previously experienced. Some of these people have been trying to buy a house for a year or more. All right. They are conditioned, right? So they see the MLS price. They think mentally, well, I see the price at 500, but we all know it's going to go for 525 and I only qualify for 495. Right? We're not there anymore. Okay? We're not necessarily there anymore. So there could be, expand what you're looking at and expand what you're considering or asking me to show you, because there could be some flexibility in price. They need to know that. Right? They need to know that. Anything else on buyers? What this means for buyers? Steve, what do you got? What does this mean for the buyer? You've done a lot of buyers, buddy. What's it mean?
I think, like you were saying, it's a lot of them. They're sitting on the ropes, waiting, thinking that still that the 3% thing is going to be, but and they don't realize that it's decent money, and once you get in, yes, you can down the road, hopefully, if the rates go down, but don't bet on that.
Don't bet on that, right? Yeah.
Don't bet on it.
Good point. Good point. I mean, look, between all of us, we know they're going to go down, guys. We know that. We just don't know. Oh, buddy, there he is. We just don't know how long it's going to be for that to happen. Could be 2 years before it's in the fives. We just don't know that, right? So you got to be able to afford it at what it is today, but you've got to accept that it's good money. All right, let's switch to sellers. Okay.
Hey,
Yeah, Brendan.
real quick, talking about buyers. I mean, this may be a good time to Alan's point. Rents are up. You know, if you've got that 2.9 rate, this might be a good time to expand your portfolio and buy a rental property. Rent out the house you're in, keep your
Mhm.
2.9, go out and buy another property, and you know, help that renter pay for your new home.
Yeah. So you got a house that's a good candidate for a rental. You've got a 3.5% mortgage on it. You know, your rent, your increase in rent is probably going to cover the mortgage interest. You know, the return on the I'm saying that the return on your investment and the inflation in the rent is probably going to more than cover that 3.5 number. Consider turning that one into an investment property and going and buy another one. That's the Jim Fischetti secret sauce, guys. I mean,
You still get the same rate?
no,
You
no, you won't get the same rate on the new one, Kev. That's a good question.
Right.
Good question. But you'll still get good money. You'll still, if you did it today, you'd be 6.5 on the new one. I mean, it's good money, right?
And that's exactly, I got a friend and he's got a place in North Highlands and he's at the high twos. And I go, dude, I know you got more kids than when you bought this thing. Had you thought about, stepping up? He goes, I'm not getting rid of this house for shit. I go, all right, well, the next step then is let's turn that thing into a rental and get you a house that works better for you guys.
And oh, by the way, this is not me either. Okay. You listen to any wealth guru, they will tell you that the way that the average American generates generational wealth is through the purchase of real estate. That's the only way that we can do it if we weren't born rich. Okay? It's the only way we can do it. You want to know what continues to perform on in the plus column and in the green column year after year after year after year after year after year after year? Rent. Rent never goes down. You want to know what the only investment that's guaranteed to cover inflation is? Rent. Okay? When we talk about investment portfolios and we talk about retirement portfolios, and if you talk to a financial planner, they'll say that, well, you may think you need $1 million to retire, but you actually need $3 million to cover the inflation gap. Okay? You know what does that automatically for you all day, every day? Rent. Okay? Who's the oldest guy in the room? Is that you, Alan?
Don't say that. I don't think so. Maybe.
Okay. Well, let's do. Alan, can you remember the first time you rented a place?
$325 a month.
Okay, tell me about the house or the apartment or whatever it was. $325 a month.
2-bedroom. I only had one bath. Had its kitchen.
Yep.
Had a yard. It was a nice place.
Where was it?
It was off of Ridge Road.
Ridge Road in Grass Valley.
Yeah.
$325 a month. How much would it rent for now? I already know the number. How much would it rent for today?
Well, that one probably rent. Ooh, I almost bought. I saw it went on the market. I almost bought it as for a rental. That one will go right now probably for $1,700 a month.
I was thinking 1900, but we're close.
And
Yeah,
that
we're
neighborhood,
close.
I know the neighborhood a little different. It's
Okay.
Where it's at. That's 1,700.
Guys, do you think that investment covers inflation? Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. All right. Anything else on buyers, or let's switch to the hard one?
I got one last thing on buyers.
Go.
People ask me all the time, is it a good time to buy? And I tell them every time the same thing. If you're going to buy and hold, it's a perfect time to buy. It's always a great time to buy if you're going to buy and hold, because even if the market goes down, if you're holding, it's going to come back up and you're going to make money.
Yep. Ownership is always better than lack of ownership, guys. Especially if it's the first time.
Right.
There is no circumstance. Well, I don't want to say no circumstance. There are very few circumstances where renting is better than first-time ownership. Very few. Okay? Very, very few. All right. Sellers. Let's switch to sellers. This one is a little tougher, folks. Okay. What does all of this mean for sellers and why are they so pissed off right now? I've been telling you guys for 2 years, you got to be a lister. You got to be a lister. Sorry about that. Okay. What does all this mean for sellers?
You got to try to convince them to take less because the market is going down. As the buyers, I'm convincing my buyers, hey, get out here and buy. There's good deals coming down. And if they're asking a certain price, offer less money. This is a market where you ask less, not offer more.
Yeah. Alan, the way that I say that in a really nice way, and you're absolutely right, is I say right now for a seller, price is so important. It's never been more important. I'm not going to say never. It hasn't been more important than this for at least 6 years. At least 6 years. Price is everything right now. And it's not just about price, it's about the perception of value on the part of the buyer, right? So whatever your price is, it has to be viewed by the buyer as not just a great value, but an extreme value because we're trying to motivate them to act.
And when you say, hey, look at this, you get this for.
Oh, he locked up. He locked up. Alan's locked up. Alan, I'm going to come back to you. When you unlock, wave your arms around. Can everybody else still hear me? Give me thumbs up. Okay, good. Alan's locked up. All right. What else does it mean for sellers, guys? Price has never been more important. What else? What are you going to tell a seller? You're in a listing appointment. You're getting a listing signed. What are you going to tell a seller?
Quality needs to be set up. You need to do all the things.
Details need to be done.
Yep. Can't skimp, guys. Okay. Sellers can't skimp. Can't skimp on marketing. Can't skimp on staging. Can't skimp on anything. Got to do it all, right? Got to convey value. It's a tough market out there, right? Let me give you some feedback that I've got. You know, we got a couple of listings on right now that should have been gone, guys. Okay. And I mean gone fast, and they're not. All right. Not only are they not gone, they're not getting offers. Okay. And these things look great. They really do. And when we started talking about it and we started putting them together, it was before all this stuff started happening and the price was good. And we took a look at price again based on numbers with the same kind of mental approach. All right. And we adjusted the price and we priced it right again and nothing happened. Okay. Nothing happened. In fact, they've both gotten traffic, lots of traffic. They've both gotten nothing but positive comments. Everybody loves them. Everybody thinks they're great. Everybody thinks they're wonderful, and they're not buying them. Okay? They're not buying them. We've got to let our sellers know what's going on in the market. So I can't say, well, just because our listings have done this, that this is what's going on in the market. So I made some calls. Okay? I made some calls. And the people that I chose to talk to do everything right. Okay? They don't skimp on prep. They don't skimp on media. They don't ask unreasonable prices. Okay? They're very sharp operators. The answer was consistent. Damian, I have no idea. It's weird. Okay? It's a weird time, which means, okay, let me translate. It's a weird time. Let me translate that in realtor language for you. I have no effing idea why it hasn't sold. Okay? No idea. Well, it hasn't sold for all the reasons we discussed at the top. And what that really means is this. The price that we all decided was an effective price and the right price for the property is no longer accurate, right? Because a property property doesn't sell for only three reasons, guys: price, price, and price. Okay. It's no longer being perceived as an extreme value. It's no longer compelling someone to act. All right. It's no longer taking someone out of the, well, I don't like this, let me wait. Okay. That's where we are. If we want the unit to sell, we've got to take them out of, oh, I don't like this, I want to wait. How do you do that? There's only one way you do that. Oh, I don't like this, I'm going to wait. Holy shit, that's a good deal, I have to buy it. That's it. It's that simple. That's where we are. Okay. How long are we going to be there? I don't know. I don't know. Could be a week. Could be 6 months. I don't know. And that's the same conversation you have to have with the seller. I don't know where we are. Okay. Or I know where we are, but I don't know how long we're going to be there, rather. Okay. We could be dealing with this for a week. Also, we could be dealing with this for 6 months. Okay. I just don't know. So my question to you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is what do we want to do today? Right? Do we want to find a way to get this sold? Do we want to find what that is? And it might be a little bit painful. Okay. Or do we want to stay the course and see what happens? Here's the problem with stay the course and see what happens. We've already agreed that none of us have any idea where this thing ends and how it manifests. Okay. There are equal chances that it gets better and that it gets worse. There are equal chances. Okay. If you think that it's weighted to any one side more than another, you're kidding yourself. Nobody knows. Okay. A lot of times real estate people don't want to have that conversation because they feel like it reflects on them that, oh, that my seller, my client's going to think that I didn't know what I was doing when I priced this house. Or they're going to think that I misled them in some way when I priced this house. You guys got, if you fall victim to that, you have got to let that go. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you had no idea 2-3 months ago, you had no idea that our market and our world economically would look the way that it looks today. Okay, that is not on you. Now, if you go to a listing appointment tomorrow and you blow a bunch of smoke up somebody's you know what, that's on you. Okay, that's on you, because I promise you, my listing presentation tomorrow is a hell of a lot different than it was 60 days ago. It's a different conversation. Okay, you've got to be able to articulate those dynamics to somebody just like we articulate everything else. Confidence, accuracy, fact-based. Okay, fact-based. If you're going to be in that situation, you're not comfortable with it at all, let's talk. Okay, let me prep you. Let me help you. Okay, let me get involved. All right. Anything else on sellers?
Yeah, me.
Go, Cindy, go.
So this is interesting. So the listing that I'm sure some of you are familiar with it, that went on, that was at Sorrel, was 1.11435. So it was about 135,000 more than ours, and it was 4199 square feet less than ours, which is 4532. She ended up having 3 offers over list. It's in escrow.
Why?
First weekend. Well, I think because they had a tremendous amount of upgrades. Back to a busy street, which was kind of interesting, but a tremendous amount of upgrades, the backyard. She just said that they went over and above on upgrade.
Did you go through the house by any chance?
No,
already gone?
this last weekend.
Last weekend. That's right.
Yeah. And yet the same team, Kendra Bishop's team that had the listing across the street, this is the family, the son, because they're all moving out here. Yeah, the seller. That was on for, I want to say 6 months, and they sold it for $150,000 less.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
No rhyme or reason. I mean,
well, there is a rhyme or reason. It's just that we may not be able to wrap our hands around it.
Exactly.
For whatever reason, they viewed that listing that sold on the first weekend as a better value than ours, right? And we don't know why that is. Without really digging into it, we don't know why that is. But what we do know is that it went crazy, and it represented itself as a value for the money, and people wanted it. And for whatever reason, we haven't represented our listing as a value for the money. They think we're overpriced. Otherwise, they would have bought it.
Correct.
Yeah.
We went a month ago.
Yeah.
Now we are.
Yeah. Yeah. What else on sellers? Anybody? Somebody sells Steve short sale in Pollock Pines, for crying out loud. The thing's 300 and what? What is it now? 370?
379. Yep.
Where is it at?
In Pollock Pines.
Or where? Off Sly Park?
No. What's the main one that's Apple Hills on?
Oh, Carson.
Yeah, it's just off of Carson.
Okay. Great area.
Yeah, I mean, it's not close to Carson. It's about a mile back, so it's not close to the freeway and stuff, but you're still close. I don't know.
That's nice up there.
Officially a short sale at this point in time now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got like 420 on it.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, they just did an appraisal. The bank did.
We don't have that number yet, do we?
I called her and she said they won't tell me.
Bastards.
That's or that's, I was gonna just go, if it was lower, I was just gonna drop it straight to there.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's probably why they won't tell you.
Yeah.
If it was higher, they'd probably tell you. Yeah. All right. So now let's switch, guys. What does all of this mean for us? What does it mean for us?
A lot more work.
Absolutely, Alan. You're absolutely right. A lot more work. Everything's going to be much, much harder. Okay. If you don't, for all those guys that you guys dream about having that, $1.8, $1.6 million client that wants to look at nothing but lakefronts. Okay. Because you think, think it's going to be great business. Have a little chat with Alan. Okay.
Hey, I gotta say one thing about it. It's fun because when one comes up, all us agents are circling it like sharks, and we know who we are now.
Yeah,
we give each other the look.
There's only 5 of you, so yeah, you do all know each other real well.
Oh, I'm getting tired of it too, because my clients got a cap base, and they're always going up against people that can go higher.
Yeah, that makes it tough. Everything is going to be harder, guys. You're going to have to work harder. What else does it mean for us? And this is where Damian's going to start sounding like a broken record. Okay? I'm going to start sounding like a broken record. What do you got to do? What do you got to be doing? You got to get verbal.
Keep rowing.
You got to keep rowing. You got to get verbal. You got to get loud. Okay? You got to be out there. You got to put yourself out there, and you got to be talking about the positives for both buyers or sellers. You've got to be talking about how action benefits them. Okay. Remember, we're trying to get a whole bunch of people that are doing this, I don't like it, to action. Right. You're the expert.
We got to convince a lot of good deals out there for the buyers, and the sellers, we got to convince them this is, if you don't sell now, you won't have a chance to sell later.
Yeah. Okay. You've got to spur those people into action. It also means that you've got to be smart, right? You got to be smart. A lot of times people think, well, this is the time where I really got to tighten up the belt and I can't spend any money. Okay. That's true to an extent, but don't shoot yourself in the foot because you're not doing any kind of marketing or any kind of presence work, or not spending a darn dime when other people are doing stuff that's forward facing. Okay. You've got to stay relevant in the market too. You got to stay relevant in the market too. So you got to be really, really smart about where you spend your money and how you spend your time, but you've got to be out there. If you want the cheapest thing going right now that contacts the people that are in the best position right now, what do you got to be doing every Saturday and every Sunday? Brendan?
Open houses and talking to people.
Yep. Okay. We all know who's in the better position right now. We already talked about it. We all know the best place to find most of them. Okay. And open houses don't cost you any money except for flyers. Okay. Don't show up without a flyer with your contact information on it and a QR code or something like that. Make sure that you do that. Okay. Because we want to lock them in, guys. All right. You don't want to go spend 5 hours in an open house, meet 17 people, and never be able to contact them again. Okay. And if you want to know my hack and you want to know Brendan's hack about open houses, all right, after the open house is over, we're texting them in the driveway. Thanks for coming by. It was really nice to meet you. I'm going to send you some stuff later. I really look forward to seeing you again. Send in the driveway. Not when I get home. Not after I play with the dog. Not when I get too tired and, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. In the driveway.
Brianna did a good job where she was sending each person that she got information from an actual video, personalized video that she's texting over. I thought that was a good touch.
I like that. Great idea. Great idea.
You know, I'd like to add too that if you have a seller that is looking to purchase another home, maybe it's a move up home, they have to sell their house, remind them it's all relative at this point. If their home price is down, so is their purchase. It's all going to be relative. It's not, you know, they're going to get screwed on both ends.
No.
Yeah.
Yep. Great point. Great point. I'm going to tell you right now, the harder things get, the louder you have to be. Okay. The louder you have to be. And sometimes you have to do stupid shit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. Everybody knows that, you know, Brendan and I have been on a recruiting kick, right? I started running out of farming. So when you guys get off the call, everybody go look at my Facebook post and look what I did. Everybody see that yet?
Let me look now.
Every realtor and their mother posted up, not knowing why.
Yeah. Oh man. Some of them are going to be pissed. I don't care. I'm only looking for 2, right? I'm only looking for 2. They're going to get pissed. I'm willing to step in front of the bus to try and get 2, because some of them, I know some of them, they're going to be pissed. Like, I don't even think they looked at the name before they chimed in. They just chimed in, right? They just chimed in. You seeing it yet, Alan?
No, I'm not really good at Facebook, man.
That's all right, buddy. I just posted on Facebook, hey, I'm looking for a realtor in the Auburn area.
I'm not commenting on that.
Yeah.
You didn't really?
Everybody else did.
Did you find one?
No, I found 74.
I'm gonna look at that post when we're over here.
Oh man. Oh man.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what did they all say? They were trying to sell you something?
I work in Auburn. I'd be happy to help you.
You know what scares me about that?
What?
If I did that in Penn Valley and I got that feedback, I'd be scared that nobody knows me in my hometown.
No. Hey man, look. Some of them that commented, I can tell you right now, we know each other, and they didn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
look at the name. They just
Well,
saw the post
I'm sure.
and responded to it. And here's the other thing that you can remember is that there is 8,600 agents in Placer County. Okay,
Oh my Lord.
I don't know all of them. Yeah, I don't know all of them. So
You know, that's a part of the problem with real estate today is because when you and I were developing, there weren't that many real estate agents.
that's absolutely true. But my point is, guys, is that sometimes you have to be a little bit bold or a little bit weird. Okay, you have to be a little bit bold or a little bit weird. And who cares? Like, really, who cares?
You know,
All that matters.
They'll
All
forget
that
the next
matters.
day.
All that matters is that you get contact with one or two people. That's all that matters. Okay. If you had one or two deals every 3 months, what would your financial picture look like? Okay. That's all that matters. Right. So be out there, be bold, show them your face, do stupid shit, do whatever you have to do to get out in front of people, and you're going to be all right.
Be a disruptor.
Yeah.
Be a disruptor, right? Brendan, we're gonna spit some more. You have two choices in this business. You can be a competitor or you can be a disruptor. Okay? Competitors, that's for punks. All right? If you want to do something, you want to make an impact, you want to make noise, you got to be a disruptor. Okay? That means that, let's talk about social media. Okay? If you're putting stuff up on social media that everybody else is putting up on social media, you're just blending into the crowd. You're just blending in. Okay? If you go to a PCAR meeting and you're just standing in the crowd, kind of blending in and everything else, you're just blending in. Nobody sees you. Right? You do some disruptive shit and start pointing at the camera and screaming at people, somebody's going to have to notice you. They may not like you, but they're going to notice. Okay? They're going to notice. All right. Anything else? Anybody add in, chime in, add to this discussion?
Bad publicity is better than no publicity.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah. Any publicity is good publicity. Bad publicity included, unless it's for like felonious behavior. Then that's probably not true. Okay. No felonies.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else? If you get bored, just start recruiting and referring agents. Make them pay you. Okay? With the rev share program, find yourself somebody that's doing 6 deals a year and get them locked into the brokerage. Get yourself a little additional paycheck. Okay? Better yet, find 4 of them. That'll give you about 10 grand if you do the math.
That's a great point. With all this uncertainty, this is the time to approach other agents.
Yeah.
Yep. Not turning you into recruiters, but I'm just saying, you get 3 or 4 of them, it's $10,000, $12,000, guys. That's just the math. That's how the math works out. Okay. All right. Anybody got anything else before we get out of here? Thanks for being here. If you need me, you know where to find me. If you want to scream, you know where to find me. If you want to complain, call Brendan.
Right on.
Yeah. I'll see y'all later in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.